get on the turbo pit bike and see if maybe we can get it to run, fix all the issues we were having, see if this setup will work that we ended up running off of the turbo, kind of wide off into the fuel tank and into the carburetor for a sort of pressurization. Hopefully that stuff will work. We'll try to fire it up. The exhaust needed a few more things done to it, so I've got it off. I've already blended it, kind of reshaped it up a little bit. So as of right now, we have our restrictor that we use, the bullet antenna, inside of the oil fill hose. Got the exhaust popped off of it so we can kind of see what it looks like. I'm pretty sure my boost leak was coming from right up here in this adapter. It was smashed like that before, but as long as we can get the oil feed pressure figured out and it's not dumping so much oil out of the turbo, then we will put the block off plates on it, go pick up a whole new boost gauge and just use this piece. And then once the boost line is fixed, then we can focus on jetting the carburetor and trying to get it dialed in, as long as the bike runs with this current setup that we have with these hoses. So while I'm over here doing this exhaust wrap, we're gonna fire this thing up and see what the oil flow looks like now compared to how it was before. Alright, so as we could tell in the video, it was still getting way too much oil flow. So we're going to take this oil feed line off and we're going to try to come up with another solution, and we'll see what happens from there. Okay, so I got to thinking while I was looking around for something to maybe put inside of our antenna we've got inside of the oil feed line right now. I don't think this will thread in. I believe it's just too small, but I'm not too worried about that because it is big enough to not just slide inside of the oil feed fitting that we have. But by using calipers, we're picking up about 267 thousandths, 267 and a half diameter on point to point. And if we come over to our fitting, I'll just grab one real quick. If we look at our oil feed fitting, this is the same exact of what we have on the turbo itself. The ID on this is around 260. So we're getting 260, and then point to point here we're getting about 267 and a half. And that is a lot of press fit, but I believe this is thin enough that I could easily take one of these. And I've got a bunch of these, so if we press something into this and it still don't work, I'll just throw it away and grab another one. But what I believe I can do is take one of these jets and I can drill it out to whatever size I need to. And I believe we'll be able to press this in here. And if that works, then we'll be able to remove our bullet antenna and that external hose clamp we have on our oil feed line, which will clean up the look of the setup, and we'll also have a forever sort of oil restrictor right inside of our oil feed fitting. So as of right now, I'm going to try to cut one of these off and I'm going to drill it out. I believe we had a 212 thousandths port in our restrictor that we have now in the oil feed line. But right now I'm going to cut this out, drill it out, and then we'll try to press fit it into here. Actually, we'll press fit it into the one on the turbo. And then we'll be able to pull out our other restrictor that we have inside of the oil feed line. And hopefully this will work out and do exactly what we need it to do. Alright, so we've got our new one drilled out, which I believe this one's going to be a lot closer than what we're looking for. I ended up going with a 67 thousandths drill bit, so it might be more around 70 thousandths or so after drilling it by hand. But now we're going to fish this restrictor out, and we're going to work on trying to get this press fit into here. It honestly started in there pretty good. Pretty snug, but honestly pretty easy. Alright, so we're not quite flush. I didn't really want to smack the end of the barb and start flaring everything out too much. But honestly, that's not going anywhere. It'll never come out either. But if it works, we're in there. So now we're going to stick this oil line back on. We'll hook the one hose clamp back up to it. And we'll fire it back up and we'll see what it looks like now. It's honestly so hard to keep this thing running, it's kind of hard to even tell. But it looks like it's still pushing out oil. I'm not sure if that's residual oil that was in there, which is why I was trying to leave it run so long to try to burn out any excess that it already had in there. But it's so hard to keep it running, and I'm pretty sure we've got a pretty bad intake leak right here. So we're gonna have to get that fixed and then work on trying to jet it at the same time we're trying to figure this oil feed out. Because right now it's not working at trying to figure out just the turbo. So for right now, I'm gonna put it back on the stand and get this boost line taken off right here and figure out if I have any more pieces or not. If I've got to go pick up a new gauge to pick up a new one of those pieces, then I will. And then I'll probably pop the gas line back off from the carburetor. I'm not sure if the fuel's any good that I've got in the tank, so I'm going to drain a little bit and kind of see. It seemed like when I grabbed up here while it was running, it started idling a lot better. It actually idled on its own, so I'm pretty sure that's our problem. All right, before we start draining the fuel tank, I was going to show you guys this exhaust. I'm not sure if we're going to polish it up yet or what we're going to do with the end of it, the tip, but I have not got the metal zip ties on yet. I just kind of threw these on just because they were easier to work with while I was doing the wrap, letting it dry. But we'll get metal zip ties slapped on this thing, and we'll get this fuel tank drained, kind of see what the fuel looks like, maybe if that could have been some of the issue. Okay, so the smallest thing I could find was a 125 jet, and I'm hoping this is going to be good enough because that's the smallest thing I've got. I've got smaller drill bits, but these work out pretty good at what we're trying to do, so I'm hoping I can get away with using this one. So we're going to get that fitting off of the turbo, pop that line off, take it off, get new banjo crush washers for it, and we'll put this new jet inside of the new barb fitting. As I was changing out this fitting with the new one, I had noticed this turbo is full of oil. So it got me thinking about the drain. So I unhooked the drain. And this is what we've got flowing out of it. Hardly nothing. And this oil is just sitting in here. So I would say this is a lot of our issue that we've got going on with the turbo. So I'm just gonna have to start pulling this turbo apart, and we'll take the inside apart and kind of see what's going on. We'll just have to get a closer look with everything off of it. Okay, so I got the little turbo taken apart. You can kind of see it. This thing is just leaking out oil everywhere. I'm not sure why it was not draining. I guess we'll just pull this thing apart and see if we can see anything out of the ordinary that may look clogged up. Maybe one of these ports are. Now that we've got the turbo all taken apart, I'd even oversized this drain by drilling it out and tapping it bigger for our fitting to fit. So that should not have really been no problem. I do wonder though if the fitting I had for the drain, the threads were just a little bit too long sticking inside of there. Which, here's the drain I had. I knew it could be a lot bigger diameter, so we may end up stepping this up with something a little bit bigger. Part of me wonders, because the oil wasn't draining directly from this bottom surface, that the fitting was sticking through a little too far, causing the oil to just back up inside of here. We're going to try to get a rebuild kit for it, just because I never pre-filled it with oil. And who knows, maybe when it was on the bike for just a few minutes, the first time I had it fired up, it just immediately kind of burned up the turbo. So I'm going to finish taking this apart the rest of the way, and we'll get a rebuild kit for this thing, and hopefully that'll do our trick. I did want to have this thing drive in this video and almost finished up all the way. Right now we're going to have to wait on a new turbo rebuild kit before we are able to start on tuning the carburetor and things like that, because right now it's just not working. But we're kind of stuck now on this video because we can't put the exhaust on. We can't put the turbo together to fire it up to jet the carburetor to find the boost leaks. Can't really finish the exhaust mount without the exhaust being in there. I really don't want to put the plastics and the grips on just because I've got so much more stuff to work with. I'm really not trying to get everything covered in oil and grease. So as far as this video goes, this one's going to be about wrapped up. There's not much else we can do until a rebuild kit comes in. But hopefully a good rebuild kit will come in. We can get this squared away and then move on to the carburetor, the intake. I'm still thinking we're going to have to build a little bit bigger intake for this bike, just because I'm not sure about the boost pressure. I do appreciate everybody in the comments trying to help out with me wiring up this wideband, getting it to power up, and as far as restricting the oil flow down for the turbo and multiple other things. I really do appreciate everybody trying to reach out and help. It really does help out a lot, and kind of get another set of eyes on it always helps. But I believe for right now, yeah, we're going to have to wait on this rebuild kit. So this is about all we can do on this video. We'll definitely make some more of this, and we'll get it out riding before long. But as for right now, I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm going to finish pulling the rest of the snap rings and everything out of it. And we're going to let this soak inside the ultrasonic cleaner for a little bit, just to make sure there's nothing inside of there. I cleaned it out really good already whenever I drilled and tapped the oil feed and oil drain, just so I could put my fittings in it. But we're going to soak it in the ultrasonic cleaner again, just to make sure nothing is still floating around in there. Maybe that was part of a problem blocking up some of these oil passages, which it don't look like nothing was too crazy in here. I do also want to mention to everybody that's been following the S300 Duramax build, we will be doing a bunch of update videos on that here soon. And you guys can comment down below what videos you guys would like to see out of it, kind of what you want to put it through. We'll do pretty much whatever. You guys just comment down below what you would like to look out for on this to see it do. We'll do plenty of tests, whatever. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for watching, and we'll check back next week and see what we can get into.